I'm Debbie Hicks. I am an avid reader and a novice quilter. I enjoy reading Jennifer Shaharani's books. One that she is most famous for is Mrs. Lincoln's Dressmaker, which was recently made into a major motion picture. I've read that book, and I've read several of her Elm Creek Quilt series books, and what got me hooked in that series was the Runaway Quilt. The Runaway Quilt speaks of the Underground Railroad and signal quilts that could have been or were used during the Underground Railroad. I have read about and studied about the Underground Railroad. The Underground Railroad was established in the 1780s, and it's documented that in 1786, George Washington complained because one of his slaves was assisted by the Society of Quakers. One of the most famous conductors along the Underground Railroad was Harriet Tubman. She was born in 1820 in Maryland, which was a slave state. She escaped slavery in 1849, but she didn't stop there. She made 19 trips into the southern states, and it is estimated that she helped bring to freedom 300 slaves. Until reading the Runaway Quilt, I had no idea that certain quilt patterns were utilized for signals along the Underground Railroad. Here, we have the log cabin quilt. And this one has the red center, which represents the fire and the hearth. This log cabin quilt pattern has the yellow center, which represents the light in a window, which is welcoming. Along the Underground Railroad, the log cabin quilt had a black center. And what that indicated was that the person at that homestead was a safe person to talk to, and they would provide safe shelter for the evening. Other quilt blocks that are significant is we have the monkey wrench, which means get your tools and get ready. We have the birds in the air, which meant for the runaways to fly, to follow the birds in the air, the direction in which they were going. The flying geese pattern, which what this meant, depending on the direction in which this quilt was hanging on the fence, that was the way in which the runaways had to go to stay out of the way of their pursuers. This quilt block here is called the Crossroads block. And what this quilt indicates is the city of Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland, Ohio had the most routes to freedom. Another block that has significance is the shoe fly block. And that meant for the runaways to dress in cotton. Or you had the bow tie block, which meant for the runaways to dress in satin. That way they could start their new lives, continue on, but they would be dressed as free men and free women. This painting here is by a gentleman by the name of Jonathan Green. He listens to oral stories told to him by people in South Carolina. He is from Daniel Island, South Carolina. This represents an African-American lady and her sweetgrass basket that she probably made herself. And she took her quilts and hung them on the line. This quilt here is a variation of the Northern Star. And the Northern Star was important for the runaways because they can only travel at night. And the North Star was their constant to continue north to freedom. Ozella Williams is an African-American woman from South Carolina. And she was told a story by her mother of the Underground Railroad signal quilts. And I'm going to read her words because I don't want to leave anything else. Apparently, there were were 10 quilts used to direct slaves to take particular actions. Each quilt featured one of the 10 patterns. The 10 quilts were placed one at a time on the fence. Since it was common for quilts to be hung in that fashion, the master or mistress would not be suspicious of seeing them. This way, the slaves could non-verbally alert the others as to what actions to take place. Only one quilt would appear at any one time. Each quilt signified a specific action which was to be taken. The code had a dual meaning. First, to signal the slaves to prepare to escape, and second, to give clues and indicate directions on the journey. And here's the rest of her story. The monkey wrench turns the wagon wheel toward Canada with the help of Jesus, the carpenter, who follows the bear's trail. Fill your baskets with enough food and supplies to get you to the crossroads. When you get to the crossroads, you dig in a log cabin. And shoe fly will tell you to dress in cotton and satin with a bow tie. And you follow the flying geese and the birds in the air. And stay on the drunkard's path. Stay away from your pursuers. And you get on the sailboat and you cross the Great Lake. And you follow the Northern Star in Canada to freedom. While many historians may not believe the stories of the signal quilts because there are none in existence anymore, the oral histories that have been handed down from generation to generation